Revealed. How my 3 siblings shamed me during Dad's estate meeting until this incredible record. Emma sat in the dimly lit room, her heart racing like a runaway train. The table was long, overshadowed by the wealth separating her from her siblings. Their faces twisted into versions of disdain, their wealth cloaked in a thick layer of smug superiority. She was the odd one out, a small-town jewelry maker, with her quirky shop built from the ground up. As they scrolled through life paths paved in silver spoons, it felt personal. Those jewels she crafted from scraps, each bead a poignantly sculpted piece of her struggle, were they truly worthless? Honestly, Emma, how can you call that a career? Mark scoffed, wearing his tailored suit like armor, loaded with the spoils of a family business that barely touched his hands. The cold air crackled, a unifying charge of resentment threatening to explode. Emma's fingers brushed the chain of her own necklace, a vivid reminder of everything she'd endured to chase her dreams. As the meeting unfolded, the air grew heavy. Pride morphed into ugly barbs thrown by her siblings, each jab drawing blood. You know Dad would be happier if you didn't waste your time with whatever this is, Jessica sneered over her designer coffee cup. Behind her, Tom thumbed through his phone, showcasing a life of luxury and excess. Their laughter, once a familial warm embrace, echoed like clattering chains around her heart. Emma felt shame ripple through her, but with it, the embers of warmth that her father always kindled in her grew into a firm resolve. She believed in family values, not just the acquisition of wealth, but in determination and character. Yet, as she stole a glance at her siblings' mocking faces, she couldn't help but wonder, was she the fool for believing her journey mattered? Before the tension could escalate further, she reached for her father's belongings stacked against the wall, a forgotten existence buried under the weight of their expectations. Her fingers brushed against an old recording device. The pull of nostalgia surged as she pressed play. Emma, her father's voice reverberated through the doubts that had tainted the atmosphere. Your resilience inspires me. I admire the way you've built your business. Time froze. Confusion rippled through the room, disbelief replacing the condescending laughter. His words, rare and genuine, wrapped around her heart like a soft embrace. Emma met the stunned gazes of her siblings, their expressions twisting from mockery to discomfort. As her father continued, contrasting the cushioned lives her siblings lived, the air filled with a tension poised for release. Tears pricked Emma's eyes. That protection he offered even in death shone bright. Fighting back the urge to cry, she drew her strength from his love and breathed, what if it takes more than just money to define who we are? Emotions erupted. Long-hidden resentments poured forth like an avalanche, burying them in overdue conversations. As each sibling confronted their beliefs around wealth and worth, a spark ignited. Just when it all felt closer to resolution, Emma paused. The question hung, heavy with possibility, demanding answers. What if our true legacy isn't measured by our bank accounts but by the character we've built along the way? As the silence stretched taut, Emma saw her siblings shift, uncertainty clouding their brows. What lay ahead could reshape everything they knew. So many unspoken things hovered in the air, yearning to be uncovered. Would they hear her? Would they understand? The storm was just beginning, and the journey toward healing was on the horizon. The room was thick with unresolved tension, a silence that felt louder than any argument could have. Emma's heart drummed a frantic beat while she studied her siblings, their faces betraying a mixture of intrigue and defensiveness. Mark's eyes narrowed, a flicker of discomfort flashing before his usual arrogance reasserted itself. Jessica's grip around her coffee cup tightened, leaving white knuckles where elegance once reigned. Tom, still scrolling his phone, seemed to sink deeper into himself, avoiding direct eye contact like a child caught misbehaving. Emma, you can't possibly believe that, Jessica replied, her voice sharp. Character? That's not something you can pay the bills with. Our lives are proof of that. The bravado in her words cracked slightly, revealing the fear of unraveling what she had always known. Emma shifted in her chair. The old recording played relentlessly in her mind, echoing words of admiration that felt like a lifeline. But Dad didn't build this family just to chase money. He valued hard work. Integrity. The fire in her words surprised her, igniting a spark of courage. I can't stand by and watch you all overshadow what really matters. It's easy to say when you've had no responsibilities, Mark shot back. You don't know what it's like to manage the family business, to grow it from the ground up. His tone dripped with contempt, but Emma didn't flinch. Inside, she felt the urge to fight back, to defend her journey. And yet, what have you truly built? She countered, her voice steady. Are those profits nourishing your souls? Or is it just a nice facade? You've all had the privilege of the family name and wealth. With each word, the room shifted. The foundation of her siblings' world began to tremble. Tom finally glanced up, his brow furrowed. You don't get it, Emma. We've worked for everything we have. You've taken the easy route. The accusation stung, but she noticed his voice lacked conviction. I didn't take the easy route. I took the only route that felt right to me, Emma countered, heart racing. I can tell you how many nights I worked through pain in my hands to create just one necklace. I can tell you about customers who walked out with tears in their eyes, feeling seen and valued. Can you say the same? Time hung still as Emma's voice softened. People come into my shop not just for jewelry, but for connection, for hope. Silence stretched again. A heavy quilt weighing them down. In the stillness, something shifted in the room. Mark's hardened edges softened as he dropped his eyes to the table, lost in thought. Jessica sighed deeply, the weight of her defenses seeming to crack. Even Tom's phone lay forgotten in his lap, as if the path he chose was suddenly less certain. Then, as if drawn together by an invisible thread, the siblings met Emma's gaze. It was a flicker, a glimmer of shared understanding. Runner. 他心中仍不确定这是否是开始. What if we each spent a day in each other's shoes? Emma suggested, her heart thumping with hope. What if we truly understood what brought us to this table? They were quiet, the prospect unfolding like the petals of a flower, fragile yet full of potential. Each face reflected a different element of disbelief, curiosity, and perhaps a touch of fear. What had her father's legacy really been about? Could they create something new together, born from their very differences? Emma wondered if they could stand together and redefine their family, find common ground beyond wealth. But just as hope began to flicker, Mark's phone buzzed loudly on the table, shattering the fragile moment. He raised it, eyes glimmering with sudden urgency. I have to take this, he muttered, frustration mixing with disruption as he walked out of the room, leaving the question hanging in the air, uncertain and unresolved. With him, a piece of the emerging unity left too. Emma felt the bite of solitude returning, and for a fleeting moment, she wondered if it was just a dream. What would it take for them to truly hear one another? But her heart stirred with the thought, could she invite them back? Would they return, ready to bridge the gaps once more? As Emma waited for answers, the next chapter of their story was about to unfold. Emma sat in the dim light of the kitchen, the air heavy with unspoken words. She stared at the empty chair Mark had just vacated, feeling the absence of his energy. Was it just her imagination, or had a flicker of understanding crossed his face before he left? She brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear, uncertain if their fragile connection had truly been real. Tom broke the silence first, his voice low and hesitant. Emma, about what you said. I think I get where you're coming from, but what? Emma interrupted, not wanting to recreate the defensive tension that had just been disrupted. You think I'm naive? That I don't understand what it means to make a living? No, it's not that. He shifted in his seat, searching for the words. I guess I just never thought of it that way. Everyone only sees the business side of our last name. You know? It's like it becomes part of you. Jessica, still gripping her coffee cup, finally joined the conversation. We've always had to represent our family in a certain light. If we showed weakness, she trailed off, her gaze dropping to the table. People would think less of us. Is that what it's about for you? Emma shot back, more heat in her voice than intended, worrying about what others think rather than living authentically. The question hung there for a moment, heavy and charged. Jessica opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. Instead, she let out a frustrated sigh and stood abruptly. You don't get it, Emma. You've always had your art. We're tied to a whole other reality. Emma watched her sister as she moved toward the window, staring out into the darkness as if seeking something beyond their cramped home. She felt the weight of Jessica's burdens pressing down, but the distance between them felt insurmountable. I just want to understand. I want to be a part of this family. And I thought we could start by walking in each other's shoes, Emma said, her voice softening. Maybe we need to strip away these labels and expectations for a moment? Tom looked thoughtful, rolling the idea around. Maybe a day in each other's worlds isn't such a bad idea. We could uncover things we've been blind to. As the word "we" left his lips, Emma felt a flicker of hope, a narrow path into mutual understanding. But the fragile hope was quickly shadowed when Jessica turned, her face a mask of frustration. I can't just drop everything, Emma. I'm not like you. I need to keep this business running, she snapped. Tom stepped in, sensing the rising tension. Jess, it's not just about business, it's about finding out who we are. What if we each tried to do something the others do for a day? Just to, I don't know, feel it? Jessica hesitated, her expression softening as she considered the unprecedented challenge. What if I have a day in your store? You think I can just yes? Exactly that. Emma leaned forward, her heart pounding with excitement. And I can handle a day in the office. You'd be amazed at the chaos of a big meeting. And maybe Mark should try what it's like to just create, to step back from numbers and strategies. The room buzzed with ideas, a tide of possibilities washing over them. And just like that, the fork in the road was being mapped out, the start of their journey. But then, just as the energy built, the front door creaked open. Mark returned, phone in hand, frustration etched on his face. I didn't mean to. What's going on? He asked, catching the uncertain expressions of his siblings. Instant anxiety recaptured the moment, and Emma braced herself as her siblings exchanged glances. She could feel the potential of their idea retreating, overshadowed by Mark's sudden presence. Tom started, but Emma quickly jumped in, excitement spilling over her nervousness. What if we all spent a day in each other's lives? Mark frowned, still holding on to remnants of his earlier irritation. What do you mean? Is this some kind of joke? Emma took a deep breath, fully aware that this was a pivotal moment. Their attempt to connect could either flourish or flounder. I think we need to see the world through each other's eyes. If we want to change, we have to understand what we each deal with. Mark kept his silence, weighing her words as the rest of the family held their breath, waiting for his reaction. Could this one idea change everything? Or would he shut it down before it even had a chance to take root? Emma's pulse raced, uncertainty flickering in her chest. But she refused to back down. The stakes were too high, and she felt the family dynamic teetering on the edge. Would they dare to take that leap? Mark's brow furrowed deeper. Emma felt the weight of every second. It was like standing at the edge of a diving board, ready to plunge but unsure if the water was deep enough. Look, I'm not trying to make a joke here, she pressed on, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. I'm serious about this. We can't keep walking around pretending we understand each other when it's clear we don't. The silence in the room thickened, each sibling contemplating their uncharted territories. Finally, Mark's shoulders relaxed just a fraction. Okay, let us say hypothetically this could work. What now? Now, Emma said, her heart pounding in her chest, we plan it out. Each of us picks a day. We'll document it, talk about it. Feel it. Feel it? Jessica echoed skeptically, crossing her arms defensively again. Yes. Not just the tasks but the emotions behind them. Your pressures, my creativity, everything. If we truly want to understand each other, we have to dive deeper than just actions. Emma felt emboldened. A fire ignited within her. Mark risked a glance at Tom, who nodded enthusiastically. It could be enlightening. I think we should go for it. But let us not just skate through it. Let us be honest about what we discover. Jessica uncrossed her arms slowly, beginning to assess the plan. What if it's just too much? What if we just end up hurting each other? Then it's still worth it, Emma said gently, her sincerity piercing through the tension. We've put off facing these truths for far too long. What do we have to lose? Several moments slipped by before Jessica spoke again. I'll try. But I need it to be more than just my side of this family business. I need to know how to actually step away too. I'd be excited to show you, Emma said, her voice warm. You'll see it's not a world of chaos, but creativity and hope. Mark grimaced. If you think I'm going to survive a day spent creating art, you're off your rocker. Tom chuckled softly. Guess we'll all be in for some tough lessons. As they chatted, work bills and business reports ebbed away from their conversation. It felt like a collective exhale, breaking the tension that had choked them for years. Emma dared to envision the transformation that could come from these experiences. I'll take your day in the shop, Jess, Emma added firmly. This could be the spark to finally find some common ground. And Mark, while she debated her words, you really need to loosen up if I'm going to handle a day of numbers. Challenge accepted, Mark said, a tiny smile tugging at the corners of his mouth for the first time that evening. Jessica's smile wavered before solidifying. We'll see. The plan was becoming real. Their unique lives would intertwine in unforgettable ways. But as the evening wound down and each of them retreated to their corners of the house, a palpable tension still lingered. Later that night, Emma lay in bed, contemplating the journey ahead. Could this truly bridge the chasms that stretched between them? She couldn't shake the unease that crawled under her skin. What if digging into their lives unearthed more than just understanding? What if it revealed deeper wounds? A chill swept through her as sleep eluded her, leaving her questions hanging in the air. And what if those revelations simply shattered the fragile bridge they were trying to build? As sleep finally began to pull her beneath its surface, she whispered to the darkness, "Please let this work." The next day held profound potential, but also the lurking shadow of fear. Would their adventures prove whether they were strong enough to unravel years of misunderstanding, or would they simply spiral further apart? Emma's heart beat in quick cadence, echoing doubts of love, family, and fragile connections. Was the risk worth it? And would they find the courage to keep their promise no matter the truths that lay waiting beneath the surface? Morning light filtered through the curtains, casting soft rays across Emma's room. The day had arrived, filled with promise but also a sharp, unyielding anxiety. She had only just closed her eyes when the alarm rang, its blaring tone jolting her into a stark reality. Each of them would be stepping into a new role today, and the stakes felt higher than they ever had before. After a quick breakfast, Emma gathered the siblings in the living room. The atmosphere shifted, anticipation mingling with unmistakable tension. Mark fidgeted with his tie while Jessica stared at a piece of art Emma had hung on the wall. Tom sat back, his brow furrowed, a mix of excitement and worry brewing in his expression. "Okay, so 10 o'clock, Jess, that's when you start hands-on in the shop," Emma said, her voice stronger than she felt. "I'll be there to guide you." "Got it," Jessica replied, her tone warm yet guarded. "Depending on how this goes, I may need a drink by lunchtime." Mark rolled his eyes. "At least we know we can trust your artistic skills to spill paint everywhere." Emma found amusement in Mark's quip, hoping to ease the weight of their unspoken fears. "And then it's my turn to tackle the world of numbers and schedules with you, Mark," she said. "We'll have fun." "Are you really going to use the word fun?" He shot back, raising an eyebrow. "I choose that instead of misery," Emma shot back, her heart lightening despite the edge still lingering. Tom cleared his throat. "Right, so how do we start this thing? By sitting in a circle and holding hands? Maybe a trust fall?" Emma chuckled, the tension easing slightly. "Let us just take it one step at a time. Just focus on today and what you'll learn. Remember, it's not about perfection but honesty." As they gathered their things and stepped outside, the brisk air hit Emma like a splash of cold water. The shop loomed before them like an uncharted territory, inviting yet intimidating. Jessica took the lead inside, her eyes scanning the well-worn floor and rows of tools. "It smells like opportunity and sawdust," she remarked, taking a deep breath. "Great smell," Emma agreed. "No more than that. Now let us get to work." The first few moments were filled with nervous energy, each sibling grasping uncertainly at their roles. Jessica hesitantly picked up a paintbrush. "So what's the first step?" Emma smiled. "We just create. Let your intuition guide you. There is no right answer." And so the day unfolded in a chaotic ballet of brushes, paint, and haphazard laughter. At first, Jessica struggled to abandon her usual rigidity. But as she began to explore the colors, her creativity sparked life into the drab room. Slowly, her strokes became broader, more confident. Meanwhile, Emma bobbed in and out of focus, offering encouragement but also stealing glances at Mark, who had pulled out paperwork in the corner of the shop. Was he really analyzing numbers while they painted? "Hey Mark," Emma called out. "How's the fun over there?" Mark looked up, a sheepish grin creeping onto his face, trying to figure out why family finances can't be as colorful as Jess's canvas. Suddenly, the room filled with light laughter, breaking the earlier tension completely. They were forging connections step by hesitant step. As the sun began to dip, casting long shadows in the shop, Emma felt a flicker of hope. Could this truly be the first step to rebuilding their relationships? But then Jessica paused, paintbrush raised, her face growing serious. What if we discover something we can't handle? What if it destroys us? The words hung heavy, resonating in the sudden stillness. Would this day reveal cracks they weren't ready to face? Emma swallowed hard, glancing at each of her siblings. They were standing at the edge of something big, maybe something painful. And in that silence, a tremor of vulnerability spread through the air. Would the willingness to explore each other's truths bring them closer, or tear them apart forever? As the wave of uncertainty washed over them, Emma's heart raced. Could she summon the courage they all needed to navigate whatever lay ahead? Even as she felt doubt creep in, one question lingered like a heartbeat in her chest. What secrets were hiding just beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed? Emma stood in the middle of the shop, the fading sunlight casting an orange glow across the walls painted with Jessica's newfound passion. That glow felt both warm and ominous, igniting an unspoken fear in her heart. The silence lingered, stretching like taffy, pressing against the walls until it threatened to suffocate them. Each sibling held their breath, caught between what they were doing and the greater truths that lingered just out of reach. Let us not think about what could happen, Emma said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Let us focus on what's right in front of us. Jessica's brow furrowed, the paintbrush hanging limply by her side. That's easy for you to say, Emma. You're the one who wants us to embrace all these feelings. What if they hurt more than help? Then I guess we take a step back, Tom chimed in, his voice steady but his hands clenched into fists, betraying his own worries. But we've got to be honest with ourselves. Isn't that what we all agreed to? Right, Mark added, his tone cautious. We can't just pretend like everything's fine when it's not. Their words sliced through the facade Emma had tried to maintain. She could see the cracks beginning to widen between them. It was one thing to talk about feelings. It was another thing to grapple with old wounds. And they had plenty of those. I am not saying we avoid hard talks, Emma replied, swallowing the lump forming in her throat. I just think we need to go slowly. Just today, let us find joy in what we're doing here. Can we try that? The siblings exchanged glances, each weighing her words. Finally, Jessica took a deep breath, and the corner of her mouth tugged upwards, a fragile smile breaking through her doubt. All right, let us focus on the painting then. But if we dive deep, we promise to have life vests on, okay? Agreed, Emma said, relieved at the lightness returning, even if just for a moment. With that, the atmosphere lightened again. The room swelled with the sounds of brushes against canvas, accompanied by the recurrence of laughter, one jovial spark igniting another. Emma smiled at the sight. Mark and Jessica were bantering, and Tom had loosened his shoulders, his strokes on the canvas becoming more fluid. Yet as paint splattered and colors mingled, Emma couldn't shake the weight of unaddressed fears. What if this initial joy was simply a cover? What if they painted over the depth of their pain, only for it to seep back out later, more venomous than before? Suddenly, a loud crash jarred her from her thoughts. Mark had knocked over a container of paint. As the vibrant blue spilled across the floor, gasps filled the air. But before panic could set in, Emma burst into laughter, the sound escaping like a rush of air breaking the tension. Mark laughed too, wiping his brow and grinning sheepishly. Well, at least it's colorful. He joked. Guess I've created an abstract piece. Looks like you're fitting right in with my style, Jessica shot back, her eyes sparkling with playful mischief. The laughter resonated in the shop, making the walls feel a little less heavy, the air a little lighter. But behind the joviality, Emma felt her heart thrumming beneath the surface. What lay beneath that paint-soaked floor? Each spilled droplet felt like a metaphor for the secrets they had yet to face. Just then Jessica's expression shifted, her eyes flickering to the door. Her smile faded as if a shadow had passed over her. What if our trip down memory lane reveals things we're not ready for? She whispered, her voice catching. What if we regret doing this together? Emma's gut twisted. The question hung in the air, a ghost haunting their moment of apparent joy. Was it truly worth the risk if it could fracture them even further? As everyone turned to look at her, sensing the shift in energy, the moment felt suspended, waiting for Emma to find the courage to respond. Would she dare to address the brewing storm? Would they weather this together or let it tear them apart? Before she could answer, A sudden knocking on the door pulled their focus, interrupting their thoughts and raising fresh questions. Who could that be? And what would it mean for their fragile evening of connection? Emma's heartbeat quickened as the knocking persisted. The sound echoed in the small shop, breaking their fragile moment and slicing through the air thick with uncertainty. She shared a glance with Mark, who looked as startled as she felt. The laughter seemed to evaporate, leaving them all on edge. What if that's someone here to ruin the fun? Tom said with a nervous laugh, but it fell flat. The tension in the room could have been sliced with a paintbrush. Should I get it? Jessica proposed, her voice trembling slightly. She hesitated near the door, her earlier confidence quickly fading. Maybe it's just a random customer? Mark suggested, his face taut with concern. I mean, it is a shop. Emma took a deep breath, mentally willing her heart to slow down. I think we should see who it is, she said, taking a step toward the door. Her gut filled with dread, but curiosity pulled her forward. As she twisted the handle and opened the door, a chill brushed against her skin. It wasn't a customer standing there. Instead, it was a woman, perhaps in her late 40s, with a face carved by the elements. She wore a long flowing coat that seemed heavier than she was. For a moment, Emma felt the room's warmth rush out, replaced by something icy and unfamiliar. Hello, is this where the Thompson siblings gather? The woman's voice was shaky but authoritative. Yes? We are the Thompsons, Emma replied, daring to step closer, though something deep inside her was screaming to retreat. She shot a glance over her shoulder at her siblings, who were peering from behind her, curiosity mixed with confusion swirling in their eyes. Before she could ask what the stranger wanted, Jessica broke the silence. Who are you? The woman inhaled deeply, collecting her thoughts. I'm here regarding your father's estate, she said, her eyes searching each sibling's face. I have documents that pertain to your inheritance. Inheritance? The word pulsed with implications, spilling heavy memories into the air. Emma felt an ache in her chest. Their father had passed away too soon, and processing what that meant had felt like navigating dark waters. Bringing up the estate now, in a moment that was supposed to be about healing, felt like dredging up all the buried pain. What do you mean? We thought everything was settled, Mark finally spoke, his voice tighter than Emma had ever heard it. The woman sighed, her expression softening as she took in the siblings' tension. That's what I thought too. But there are matters that require further discussion. I believe it's best if we talk privately. Emma pressed her lips together, glancing at Jessica and Tom, the tension snapping back to life between them like an elastic band. I think maybe we should process this together, Emma said, her voice wavering. All of us. I understand, the woman replied, looking sympathetic, but some of what I have to say may bring up difficult things you may not be ready to face. Jessica's breath caught in her throat, and Tom's fists clenched again. Emma felt that familiar dread wash over her. Old wounds were itching to be opened, but the urgency of the moment swelled inside her like a tide. Then let us face it together, Emma asserted, looking around at her siblings. They were on the brink, standing just on the edge of a precipice. She sensed the resolve forming in them, a silent pact. They would not be torn apart again. Not now, not while they were beginning to find each other again. As Emma stepped back, inviting the woman in, she felt the night press down on her shoulders. But all at once, the gravity of the moment transformed her fear into anticipation. Okay, she steadied herself. Let us hear it. But would that decision cut deeper than any brushstroke on canvas? Would it bleed their freshly regrown connection, or would it patch their wounds anew? Emma could hardly breathe as they gathered their strength for what lay ahead. The woman stepped inside, her coat trailing behind like a shadow. The warmth of the shop felt distant, as if the air itself had thickened in response to the weight of her presence. Emma shut the door slowly, the latch clicking shut with a finality that echoed through the silence. Please sit, the woman said, motioning towards a circle of mismatched chairs. There was an air of authority in her demeanor that made Emma's stomach tighten. They all exchanged glances before shuffling into their seats, a sense of foreboding settling over them like a winter blanket. Jessica looked like she might crumble again at any moment. What do you mean we need to discuss the estate again? I thought everything was done. Her voice trembled with anxiety, and Emma longed to comfort her. The woman cleared her throat and unfolded a crinkled envelope, revealing a stack of papers. Your father left behind some unexpected surprises and certain family matters that were unresolved. These may change everything you thought you knew. Mark leaned forward, his brow furrowed. Surprises? What do you mean? There's a will, she started, pausing to let the weight of her words sink in. An additional one discovered just recently. It alters his previous distributions. There are specific conditions and conditions? Tom interrupted, his voice rising. What do you mean? Did he change who gets what? The woman nodded solemnly. Yes, and it also includes some clauses that involve all of you working together to fulfill your father's final wishes. A tense silence followed, the air vibrating with uncertainty. Emma felt a tight knot forming in her throat. They had already fought through so much grief and the disarray of loss. The thought of being tied to new conditions felt like diving headfirst into murky water, unsure of what lay beneath. What sort of conditions? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Your father desired reconciliation between you all, particularly regarding your differing paths in life. He wanted you to come together not only for the estate but also for something he mentioned often, a family legacy. Emma shifted in her seat, her palms sweaty against the cool fabric of her jeans. A legacy? What does that even mean? The woman sighed, her eyes searching each sibling's face as if measuring their readiness. It involves a project. A way to honor his memory, and it requires your participation. Jessica's eyes widened. What kind of project? A local art gallery he had hoped to open, showcasing the works of local artists, including you, Emma. The woman gestured towards her, and Emma felt the warmth creep into her cheeks. Your father believed in supporting community and creativity. The room felt heavy with expectation. Emma's breath came out quicker now as the implications unfurled around her. But I don't know the first thing about running a gallery. And what if that's why you need each other? The woman interrupted gently. To piece this together, each of you brings something unique to the table. It won't be easy, but it's what he wanted. Silence fell again, palpable and thick. Emma searched her sibling's eyes, looking for answers she wasn't sure existed. Tom broke the quiet. This is about more than the money, isn't it? Emma's heart raced. He was right. This wasn't just about inheritance. It was about their father's wishes and the tangled web of their shared history. Could they really come together in a way they never had before? Jessica's voice trembled, breaking through Emma's thoughts. Do we have a choice? The woman offered a small, understanding smile. Yes, but choice also means facing the truths you've avoided. It's time to heal, but it will take all of you working as a unit, pulling together. As the siblings faced one another, Emma could almost hear the weight of their fractured relationships echoing in the air. Would they step back into the shadows of old resentments, or dare to forge a new path illuminated by the light of their shared past? But as the silence stirred with unspoken fears and hopes, what if the truth about their father shook their foundation even more than they anticipated? Emma's heart pounded as she prepared herself for what lay ahead. Knowing they were on the precipice of something monumental, would they take the leap together? The air was charged with hesitation as Emma's thoughts whirled. The room was a battlefield of unsaid words, of past wounds that threatened to resurface with each passing moment. She could feel her heart beating in a rhythm that echoed the uncertainty within the group. Jessica shifted in her chair, her eyes darting from face to face. What if we can't do it? The tremor in her voice was palpable, hanging above them like a stormy sky. We have to try, Mark responded, his brow tightening. There was an urgency in his tone that sparked a glimmer of hope. This gallery, it could mean everything for us, for Dad's legacy. We owe it to him. Emma could see the flicker of determination in his gaze. Yet, fear lingered beneath, a heavy blanket suffocating any lightheartedness. But what if we fail? She asked, her voice breaking just slightly. Couldn't we just leave it all behind? The woman, whose presence felt both commanding and comforting, shifted her weight as she leaned forward. Your father believed in you all. He wanted you to confront these fears, not run from them. Engaging with this project is not just about the gallery, it's about healing old wounds. Tom, who had been disturbingly quiet, finally spoke up. Why did he want us to do this together? We can barely stand to be in the same room. I think we should, Jessica interrupted, her brows knitting together in resolve. If Dad thought we could do this, maybe it's time we listened. Maybe it's time for us to put aside our differences and figure out how to work together. Emma felt a surge of rebellion rise within her. Hadn't they spent years avoiding the uncomfortable truths about each other? What if putting our differences aside isn't enough? Her voice quivered. What if we dig up things we aren't ready to face? The flicker of a smile took shape on the woman's face, surprising Emma. That's precisely the point. The gallery is a canvas of your lives connected by shared memories. Confronting those not-so-pretty truths will bring you closer, even if it feels impossible right now. Silence followed her words, the weight heavy like stones on their chests. Emma studied each of her siblings, searching for the threads of connection in their eyes. Could they really blend their lives again after everything? Tom ran a hand over his face, exhaling sharply. I guess we could at least look into it together. What would it take to start? The woman's gaze softened. Together means setting a foundation. Start with your father's vision. Honor what he wanted. Use the talents you all possess. What if we disagree? Emma asked. It was a fair question and it hung in the air cold and hard. Disagreement can be the bedrock for growth. Communicating openly is key. Listen, share, compromise. It's finding common ground that will transform you. Hope flickered in Emma's heart. Maybe if we discuss it, we could figure something out, but where do we even start? Jessica asked, a hint of dread creeping back in. By revisiting this legacy, the woman said, her voice steady. In this envelope there are ideas and plans that your father wrote down. Read through them. It can be your launchpad. Emma's fingers trembled as they reached for the papers. The woman's words stirred a swell of emotions inside. Was this the bridge they needed? As the siblings huddled closer to read, a sudden thought struck Emma like lightning. What if there was more to this project than we realize? More than just a gallery? The woman's eyes sparkled with understanding. Exactly. Sometimes within the shadows of inheritance lies something much brighter. You just have to choose to see it. The intensity of the moment gripped Emma's chest. What if, amidst the chaos of their past, they found a way to truly connect? What awaited them if they dove deeper into their father's vision? And as she turned to the first page with her siblings leaning closer, was this the beginning of a journey that would change them forever? Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was about to unfold, their lives intertwined, their secrets exposed. Would they unravel the layers of their collective history or fracture even further? The path seemed winding and only time would tell. The room pulsed with anticipation, a collective heartbeat echoing through the air. Emma felt the envelope's weight in her hands, heavy with promise, yet daunting like the burden of their mixed past. As they peered closely, the faded ink from their father's words seemed to breathe life into the atmosphere, filling it with echoes of memories too long ignored. Dad wanted us to do this together, she read aloud, her voice trembling with emotion. The words resonated, shattering old barriers built from silence and misunderstanding. Each line carved a path straight to their hearts, revealing the desires and dreams he had carried within him, dreams now entrusted to them. I can't believe he wanted an art gallery, Jessica whispered, her eyes sparkling with newfound inspiration. He always believed in the power of creativity. Mark nodded, his brow relaxing somewhat as he whispered, he wanted us to honor that together. Tom reached for another piece of paper, reading over his siblings' shoulders. We could do this. If we each put in our strengths, we might even succeed. It's all right here. Emma's heart swelled at the thought. Could these words from their father pave a way to understanding? Could they finally reconcile their differences through the legacy he left behind? Suddenly, the doubt that had pulled at Emma began to dissolve. Maybe we should take his vision and build on it. We can infuse our individual styles. The spark of excitement ignited ideas, and soon they were brainstorming, laughing, and getting lost in possibilities. As the hours slipped by, the energy in the room transformed. Laughter replaced the earlier tension, and tears of joy flowed, erasing old insecurities. They threw themselves into planning, sketching ideas, and envisioning the gallery's future. For the first time in years, Emma felt as if they were truly working together, bound by a shared mission instead of wealth and jealousy. But then Mark paused, the exuberance dwindling. Wait, what if we fail at this too? The shadow of insecurity challenged the lightness that had filled the room. What if my connections can't help? Or if we can't even agree? Emma stepped closer, her eyes searching his. But what if we don't try? What if we let past fears and resentments dictate our futures? We need to lean into the discomfort to grow. Dad chose us to have this chance. We owe it to him to explore every possibility, none too big or too small. As the silence lingered, her words settled over the siblings like a warm embrace. Finally, Jessica nodded gently, determination returning. You're right, Emma. Let us do it. This is our legacy too. And maybe in rebuilding the gallery we can rebuild ourselves. Tom's eyes narrowed in focus, a fire igniting within him. Let us make it our vision. It's not just about honoring Dad, it's about creating something all of us can be proud of together. The moment felt electric. They were on a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown. Emma's stomach fluttered, a mix of nerves and exhilaration swirling inside her. They were about to embark on a journey she'd longed for, a path built on understanding, vulnerability, and hope. The darkness in the air, once prevalent, lifted. Instead of drowning in old resentments, they began to swim in the currents of connection. All right then, Mark finally said with a subtle smile breaking his serious facade. Let us get started. Before they dispersed, Emma felt a surge of gratitude wash over her. It wasn't just about the gallery anymore. It was about healing the family. Can we promise to be open with each other throughout this process? With a chorus of agreements reaffirming their commitment, they clasped hands, forming a circle of support amongst themselves as they released each other. Emma's heart felt lighter than it had in years. Perhaps amidst the chaos, their father had instilled hope not for material riches, but for a richness in love, family, and connection. Days turned into weeks, each moment filled with creativity, laughter, and occasional squabbles. But they navigated every bump with newfound resilience. With every brushstroke, they painted not only walls but also mended the fabric of their familial bond. The gallery emerged, a testament to their unity, a curated space radiating warmth, filled with not just art but also shared memories and stories. And as they stood at the grand opening looking around, Emma felt tears drenching her cheeks. We did it. Together, she exclaimed, overwhelmed by the beauty they created not just in the art, but in rediscovering each other. Mark wrapped an arm around her shoulder. This is just the beginning. Look how far we've come. And there, amid the laughter and joy, Emma understood their father's true legacy was not defined by wealth or possessions. It was the love they had built, the lessons they had learned, and the masterpiece they had created, a testament of hope, healing, and family. As the night continued, Emma beamed, feeling an unshakable bond with her siblings. They weren't just a family caught in the tides of misunderstanding anymore. They were a family charting a new course filled with purpose and love, and in that moment, she realized this was their true inheritance. Each other. Now, as the final chapter of one journey unfolded, a new adventure was only just beginning. But wait, this is your moment to reflect. You need to subscribe now to not miss our next exclusive stories that touch the heart and transform lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support channels like ours. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformative journey. Now is the time, show your support and be part of the family.